Hello and welcome back to the channel. We are starting an exciting new series on APIs, as understanding APIs is crucial for building and testing modern software applications. In this series, we'll be covering API concepts, best practices, and practical examples to help you master the art of using APIs. In this specific video, we'll be covering what an API is, how it works, and some real world examples to illustrate these concepts better. Now let's start with what is an API. An API actually stands for Application Programming Interface and it is a set of rules or protocols that enable different software components to communicate and transfer data. Basically, APIs are used for communicating between two components within a single software or between components of two different software applications. APIs simply state the rules for data transfer and communication. Let me give you an example. Think of API as the process of applying for a passport, where you'll fill some forms, take photos, gather the documents, and take them to the passport office. You'll hand over the documents to the person at the counter and pay the fee. Now you'll wait for the backend processes to be completed, and finally you will receive your passport. During the entire process, you have no idea what happens behind the scenes. You follow the procedure, provide the necessary inputs, and the systems works in the background to produce the passport. This is similar to how an API works. In APIs, the component which is making the request is generally called a client. In this case, the client is the person who is applying for the passport. And in APIs, the component which is responding back is generally called a server. In this case, the backend system of the passport office that processes the request of the client and issues the passport is the server. The API, or in this case, the person at the counter, acts as an intermediary between the client or the one component and the other component, which is the server, handling the communication and data transfer. So you don't need to understand the internal workings of the system, you just need to interact with the API. A client will make the call to the API, and API is doing the things behind the scenes and interacting with the server to get the response and hand it over back to the client. So this was an example of an API and how it actually works. Now let me give you one more example. Now suppose you have a portal of Spotify, right? This is one of the uh, sites that will allow you to log in from your Facebook account. Now, what you do is you just click on login with Facebook, and you are straight away logged into the Spotify portal with the credentials of Facebook. So, in this case, the client, which is Spotify portal, is actually making the request to the Facebook API, which is talking to the Facebook servers behind the scenes to validate the user. So the client is a Spotify portal. API is a Facebook API that is actually validating the details of the user with the backend server. In this case, server is the backend of Facebook servers, which are basically authenticating the users, the user information that is passed from the API. So just like the example of passport that I gave you earlier, you just don't need to understand how Facebook's internal system work. The API, which is a Facebook API in this case, handles the communication and data transfer, allowing you to log into the portal of Spotify just by integrating with the API. And that's it for today. If you found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated. In our next lecture, we'll cover the different type of APIs, explore how to call the APIs, and inspect responses using the tools like Postman. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.